If you fit into that dress, I'll go to prom with you." The words exploded across the courtyard of Riverside High like a bomb. Tyler Hamilton stood there, the golden boy with his perfect smile, waving a blood-red size 2 dress in front of 200 students. His voice dripped with arrogance. The son of the richest man in town, owner of Hamilton Motors, holding humiliation in his hands like it was a trophy. Imani Carter froze. 17 years old, shy, quiet, standing beside the prom registration table with her form still in her trembling hands. The crowd went dead silent for one terrible second, and then came the laughter. Loud, cruel, endless. Tyler lifted the dress higher. "If Imani Carter can fit into this by graduation, I'll take her to prom." Laughter erupted again. Phones came out. Cameras flashed. TikToks began to stream. In less than a minute, Imani's humiliation was viral. Behind her thick curls and second-hand hoodie, no one saw the fire burning behind her eyes. No one knew that she wasn't just another girl trying to survive high school. She was a prodigy, a girl who had once hacked into her middle school's network to find who was spreading lies about her mother. A girl who had learned that power didn't come from beauty or status. It came from knowledge. She stared at the red dress, then at Tyler's smug face, and said softly, "I accept." The courtyard exploded in noise again. Tyler laughed, slapping his friend on the shoulder. 6 weeks, Carter. Let's see the miracle." Imani didn't flinch. She folded the red dress, placed it carefully into her backpack, and walked away. Not a tear, not a word, only a promise. That night, while the entire school laughed at her online, Imani sat in front of 3 glowing monitors in the tiny apartment she shared with her mother. Her mother slept in the next room, exhausted after a double shift at the hospital. Imani's fingers moved across the keyboard like lightning. Tyler Hamilton thought this was about a dress. But she knew better. This was about power, and he had just handed her the reason to take his away. She found his password in less than 2 hours. Tyler, the King 123. The kind of arrogance that thinks the world is too stupid to notice. Inside his father's company server, she discovered everything they hid behind that luxury brand. Safety violations, employee complaints buried under money, police reports that vanished after donations. And then she saw it. 3 car accidents, all drunk driving, all Tyler's fault, all covered up by Daddy's cash. She whispered to herself, "Interesting." The next day at school, Tyler paraded through the cafeteria like he owned it. He was the star of his own cruel show. "Maybe we should start a support group," he shouted to his friends. "Emotional Eaters Anonymous," laughter again. The same cruel sound that used to crush her. But not anymore. Imani looked up from her tray and smiled slightly. She had already begun writing his digital obituary, line by line. After class, she didn't go to the fancy gym Tyler had bragged about paying for her. She went to the school's old computer lab, a forgotten place that smelled of dust and old wires. That's where Marcus Reed found her. The 30-year-old school technician with a limp and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He watched her bypass the school's firewall in minutes. "You hacked the system," he said. "Not hacked," she replied without looking up. "Just fixed it," he laughed. That's what every great hacker says before changing the world. Marcus had seen war, corruption, and cruelty. He recognized the look in her eyes. "Not anger, focus. You want to destroy him," he said quietly. "Then don't do it angry. Do it smart. Anger burns out. Precision burns slow." From that moment, she wasn't alone. Marcus became her mentor, her secret ally. Together, they turned that forgotten basement into a digital command center. Old computers, humming servers, flickering lights. Every day after school, Imani worked in silence while Marcus taught her how to hide her trail, how to track financial movements, how to expose truth without leaving fingerprints. She learned to wait, to plan, to record every insult Tyler posted, every fake apology, every hashtag, every laugh. He didn't know it, but every cruel word was a brick in the digital cage she was building around him. 6 weeks. That was the deal. 6 weeks to fit into a dress. 6 weeks to rebuild her body and her power. 6 weeks to turn humiliation into strategy. While Tyler's followers mocked her online, Imani was becoming something he couldn't see. Sharper, faster, unstoppable. The red dress hung on the back of her door, not as a symbol of shame, but as a countdown. Every morning she woke at 5, trained, coded, ran, studied. She was sculpting not just her body, but her mind. shaping herself into the weapon she needed to be. In the glow of her monitor, she whispered to herself the same words every night. This isn't about the dress. And in that quiet apartment, a storm was forming. One that would sweep through Riverside High and burn everything Tyler Hamilton thought he controlled. Because when you humiliate the wrong woman, especially one who's learned how to weaponize her pain, 6 weeks is all she needs to rewrite the story. The next week, the halls of Riverside High buzzed with fresh rumors. Someone had leaked a blurry photo of Imani leaving the gym before sunrise, sweat-soaked, her hoodie pulled tight. The caption read, "She's actually trying." The comments flooded in, half laughter, half curiosity. But while they joked, she kept moving. Imani's world shrank to repetition. The hum of treadmills, the smell of disinfectant, the glow of screens. During the day, she lifted and ran, and at night she built codes that could unmake reputations. Her body ached, her eyes burned, but the rhythm kept her alive. Marcus called it the grind. He'd limp into the lab with coffee and cracked jokes, and she'd answer with quiet focus. He didn't tell her that he'd started recording her code sessions to study her technique. He hadn't seen a mind like hers since his time working cybersecurity for the Army. One night, he placed a faded photograph on her keyboard, a younger version of himself standing beside a woman in military uniform. "She was the one who taught me to fight clean," he said. Imani glanced at the picture. What happened to her? "She trusted the wrong people," he murmured. "Don't make that mistake," she understood. In her world, trust was currency, and she had none left to spend. 3 weeks in, Tyler hosted a charity live stream to raise money for prom decorations. It was really a chance to show off his new car, a silver sports coupe he didn't earn. Thousands watched online. Imani too, from her dimly lit room, headphones on, notebook open. Tyler laughed into the camera. Some people think they can change who they are in 6 weeks. "Let's be real. Miracles don't happen in sweatpants," the audience roared. But behind the laughter, his bank notifications pinged. 5 small, invisible withdrawals from fake accounts. She wasn't stealing money. She was mapping his network, tracing every line back to his father's empire. Each transaction drew her closer to the heart of their corruption. That night, she told Marcus, he doesn't even realize his system's bleeding. He smiled. That's the art of it. You don't win by shouting louder. You win when the enemy celebrates while his walls are collapsing. By the 4th week, whispers began to shift. Students noticed changes. Imani's sharper frame, the quiet confidence in her walk, the way teachers paused when she spoke. Even her laughter had changed, softer but edged with power. Tyler noticed, too. He stopped joking when she passed by. Something about her calm unnerved him. The girl he'd mocked now looked him in the eye like she could see the clock ticking above his head. The final week arrived with the same buzz as homecoming. Posters for prom covered every wall, and somewhere beneath the glitter and smiles, Imani's plan was almost ready. She'd built a hidden website, Project Redline, timed to go live at 7 p.m. on prom night. It would expose everything: the drunk driving records, the hush payments, the falsified safety reports. She'd embedded the link into the prom's digital invitation itself, so when the lights dimmed and the projector started the slideshow, the truth would stream in front of everyone. But she wasn't just after revenge. She wanted justice to feel poetic. The day before prom, Marcus caught her staring at the dress hanging in the lab. "You ever going to try it on?" he asked. She shook her head. "Not yet. I'll know when it's time." He studied her for a moment. "You sure you're ready for what comes after?" Imani smiled faintly. I was ready the moment he laughed. Prom night came fast. The gym was transformed into a dream. Lights, silk, music vibrating through the floor. Tyler stood in his white tuxedo, perfect hair, perfect grin, the prince of a dying kingdom. He scanned the crowd for Imani, expecting a no-show. Then the music faltered. The doors opened, every head turned as Imani Carter walked in. The red dress fit like destiny, not tight, not forced, but perfect, flowing against her skin like it had been waiting for her all along. The laughter that used to follow her turned into stunned silence. Tyler's jaw tightened. He forced a smile. "Well, damn, you actually did it." Imani met his eyes. "No, Tyler, I'm just getting started." The projector flickered to life. At first, the crowd thought it was the slideshow. Baby pictures, memories, a montage of the graduating class. Then came the files, emails, receipts, police reports stamped sealed. A familiar face in a mugshot. Tyler's gasps rippled through the crowd. Teachers froze. Tyler's father, standing near the exit, went pale. Tyler lunged toward the tech booth, shouting, "Turn it off!" But Marcus had already locked the system. Tyler lunged toward the tech booth, shouting, "Turn it off!" But Marcus had already locked the system. The truth spread faster than gossip ever had. Every phone in the room vibrated with notifications, shares, reposts. Imani stood still in the center of chaos, calm as a storm eye. She hadn't raised her voice, hadn't thrown a punch. She'd simply held up a mirror, and the town finally saw what it had been protecting. As security rushed in and teachers shouted for calm, she turned and walked out. The red dress caught the light from the hallway, a living flame disappearing into the night. Outside, rain began to fall. Heavy, cleansing. Marcus was waiting by his old car. "You did it," he said quietly. "No," she answered. "I just told the truth loud enough for the world to hear it." He nodded, pride soft in his eyes. "So what now?" Imani looked out at the flashing lights of police cars in the distance. "Now I rest, and then I build something better." For the first time in weeks, she let herself breathe. The humiliation was gone, burned away by the fire she'd forged from it. The girl they mocked had become the woman they'd remember, the one who wore a red dress and dismantled an empire. Back inside the gym, the projector still played the final slide. Power isn't what you're given, it's what you take back. By morning, Riverside High was on fire. Not the kind that burned buildings, the kind that burned reputations. Screens everywhere glowed with the same headline, "Hamilton Motors under federal investigation." News vans crowded the school parking lot. Reporters hounded anyone who looked like they'd ever spoken to Tyler Hamilton. Imani stayed home. Curtains drawn, laptop closed. The storm she'd unleashed didn't need her anymore. It had a life of its own now. Her mother knocked softly on the door. "Sweetheart, the news. They're saying a student leaked files." "You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?" Imani turned slowly. Her mother's eyes were full of worry and pride all at once. "I just told the truth," she whispered. Her mother nodded, sat beside her on the bed, and took her hand. "You always do." The world outside was louder than ever. Tyler's father had been arrested. 3 executives resigned within hours. And Tyler himself, silent. No live videos, no posts, no laughter. The boy who once lived for attention now hid from it. But Imani didn't celebrate. There was no victory dance, no champagne, no joy. Only quiet. A strange, heavy quiet that made her chest ache. Marcus called that night. "Kid, you okay?" "I should be," she said. "But it doesn't feel like winning." That's because justice isn't about feeling good. It's about balance. And balance always costs something. "What did it cost you?" He laughed bitterly. "Everything I didn't realize I needed." For the first time since it all began, she shut her laptop and went for a walk. Riverside felt different now. Cautious, uncertain. Eyes followed her, not with mockery, but with something she couldn't quite name. Respect? Fear? Both? A girl at the bus stop whispered, "That's her." A boy muttered, "She took down the Hamiltons." But Imani didn't stop. She just kept walking, the red dress folded neatly in her bag, like a memory she couldn't yet let go of. Days turned into weeks. The investigation deepened. Her emails were requested by the authorities, but Marcus had already wiped her tracks clean. The digital fingerprints led nowhere. Then came the message. An anonymous email. No sender, no subject, just a line of text. "You're good." But not the only one watching. Imani's heart stuttered. She traced the encryption pattern. Military grade. Advanced. Someone had broken through her outer firewall. She called Marcus immediately. "Someone found me," she said. He sighed. "Then you finally stepped into the real arena." "What does that mean?" "It means the people you exposed weren't the top. There's always someone higher, someone who profits when others fall." That night, for the first time since prom, she felt fear. Not the social kind, not humiliation, real fear. The kind that hums in your bones. She doubled her defenses, rebuilt her system, changed every code, every line, every connection. But whoever had sent that message was already inside, watching. By the next morning, new rumors spread through the school. Whispers about government files, about hackers, about a girl who brought down billionaires. Most dismissed it as teenage gossip, but a few believed it. and those few began to follow her. One of them was Ava Reyes, tall, sharp, a quiet genius from the robotics club. She found Imani at lunch and slid a flash drive across the table. "You're not the only one who wants the truth out," Ava said softly. "I've got data on who funded Hamilton Motors' campaign donations. You'll want to see it." Imani studied her face. Calm. Serious. No games. "You're not scared?" Ava smiled faintly. "I'm tired of pretending like the rules are fair." That night they worked together in the lab. Two girls, surrounded by humming machines and the smell of old circuits, connecting dots that powerful men had tried to bury. Marcus joined them quietly, standing in the doorway like a silent guardian. When the files decrypted, the truth hit hard. Campaign bribes, illegal testing, a hidden project tied to the Department of Defense. Hamilton Motors wasn't just corrupt. It was part of something national. Imani leaned back, her pulse pounding. "If we publish this, it's not just a scandal. It's war," Ava nodded. "Then let it be war." They didn't realize that someone else was listening. Across town, in a high-rise office overlooking the city, a man in a tailored suit watched their network feed from a secure terminal. His screen displayed two words: "User detected." He leaned back, smiled thinly, and whispered, "Let's see how far the girl in the red dress can run." 2 days later, Marcus disappeared. No calls, no texts. His apartment stripped clean, only a single envelope left on his desk with Imani's name on it. Inside, a USB drive and a note: "If you're reading this, I'm already gone. Don't stop now." "They're bigger than we thought." Imani's hand shook as she loaded the drive. It contained surveillance footage, warehouses, shipments, faces blurred but familiar. One frame froze her breath. Tyler's father meeting with government contractors weeks before his arrest. They weren't enemies. They were partners, Ava whispered. "They used the Hamilton scandal to cover their tracks." Imani clenched her fists. "Then we exposed them all." That night, the power went out across her block. Her screens went black. A knock at the door echoed through the apartment. 3 sharp raps. 2 deliberate. Her mother's voice called softly, "Imani?" "There are men outside asking for you." Imani froze. She opened her bedroom window and saw 2 black cars parked under the streetlight. No logos, no plates. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You were warned." She grabbed her backpack, laptop, drives, the red dress, and climbed out the window just as the front door burst open below. The night swallowed her as she ran. Through alleys, over fences, breath ragged, rain cutting down like glass. Her world had shifted from digital warfare to survival. But the same rules still applied. Stay invisible, stay fast, stay in control. By dawn, she reached the train station outside town. Exhausted, soaked, shaking. She bought a ticket with cash Marcus had once told her to keep, just in case. As the train pulled away, she looked back once at Riverside fading into the mist. Her old life shrinking to a dot. Ava's voice came through her earpiece, whispering through static. "You're not alone, Imani. I've got the backups. Wherever you go, I'll keep sending what we find." Imani stared out the window, the city lights melting into streaks of red and gold. "Then we start over," she said. "And this time, we take the whole system down." Somewhere far behind her, a man watched her digital trail flicker, fade, then vanish completely. He smiled. "She's better than I thought." And in that moment, the girl who once fought to fit into a dress had become something else entirely. A ghost in the system, a legend in the making, and the spark of a rebellion she never planned to start. By the time the 3rd week rolled around, the air at Riverside felt charged with something electric and invisible. Everyone could sense that something was coming, even if they couldn't name it. The videos mocking Imani had reached 500,000 views across platforms. Clips of Tyler doing his fake inspirational speeches filled TikTok's For You page, each more cruel than the last. He thought he was feeding an audience that adored him. But what he didn't know was that every like, every comment, and every repost was being quietly archived by Imani and Marcus. At home, Imani's 3 monitors glowed through the night like a command center. Lines of code streamed down as she tracked IPs, downloaded archives, and built timelines of digital cruelty. Every keystroke carried the weight of weeks of humiliation turned into quiet fury. Marcus's gravel low voice came through the headset. "You don't rush this kind of justice. You let them trap themselves," she answered without looking away from the screen. Oh, he's already trapped. He just hasn't noticed the walls closing in. When she wasn't working on code, she was training. Marcus had mapped out a workout plan that tested every limit of her endurance. 5 a.m. runs through empty streets, push-ups until her arms trembled, hours of balanced drills that made her focus like a sniper. It wasn't about the dress anymore. It was about reclaiming the body they said didn't belong in that world. The sweat, the pain, the discipline became part of the same code she was writing in her head. By the end of the 4th week, she could look at herself in the mirror and see a woman who didn't need permission to take up space. At school, her silence began to unnerve people. Tyler's friends noticed she no longer flinched at their jokes. She looked at them the way an engineer studies a faulty machine, measuring the moment before it breaks. Jessica, still trying to stay loyal, whispered during lunch, "They're planning something big for the next pep rally." Tyler said, "It's the final act." Imani smiled faintly. "Then it's perfect timing. I've got a final act too." That night, she and Marcus sat in the hidden basement room under the tech lab. He projected data onto the wall, Hamilton Motors bank transfers, police incident reports, and encrypted backups of everything tied to the Hamilton family. Imani scrolled through the evidence, her eyes catching on one file labeled Amber Rodriguez. She opened it and froze. The pictures were worse than she'd imagined. Wreckage twisted like a crushed can, a girl's crutches leaning beside a hospital bed. She whispered, "She was 16. Marcus nodded. Tyler ran her down the night of the Christmas gala. His father paid her family off, sealed the record. But digital paper trails don't stay buried forever. Imani sat back, breath trembling. The anger in her chest wasn't wild anymore. It was cold, organized. This isn't just about me now. From that night on, their project grew. Marcus introduced her to 2 of his old contacts. One a cybersecurity analyst who owed him a favor, the other a journalist who specialized in corporate fraud. The journalist, Dana Fields, joined a video call from her office in D.C. "If what you're saying checks out, this isn't teenage drama," Dana said. "It's corporate crime, but you need to make sure it's airtight. Screenshots, metadata, timestamps, everything." Imani nodded. "I'm not here for revenge anymore. I want exposure," Marcus smirked. "That's the spirit." Justice is louder when it's documented. Meanwhile, Tyler's arrogance ballooned. He launched a new series called Mission Impossible 2.0, where he sold t-shirts mocking Imani's weight. He filmed skits of himself pretending to diet, like Imani. Local news even covered it as a quirky viral challenge, calling him Riverside's prank prince. Watching that broadcast, Marcus clenched his fists. "He's untouchable because his dad sponsors the damn channel." Imani just whispered. Not for long. She built what she called Project Mirror. Every cruel post Tyler made was mirrored to an anonymous cloud drive. Every sponsor that liked his videos was linked to their brand data. She cross-referenced the family's business contracts with public safety complaints. The deeper she went, the uglier it got. Bribes, false safety inspections, charity funds diverted to offshore accounts. Late one night, after 8 hours of continuous coding, Marcus handed her a cup of coffee and sat beside her. "You've got enough to bury them twice. You sure you're ready for the fallout?" She looked at him, eyes clear but tired. "Fallout is what happens after an explosion. What I'm building is a controlled demolition." They spent the next week preparing for prom night. Marcus tested every connection at the country club where the event would be held, mapping out camera lines and audio channels. Imani rehearsed her speech not out loud but silently, line by line in her head, until the words burned like code into memory. Still, there were moments of doubt. One evening she walked to the river that cut through the edge of the city, watching the reflections of streetlights ripple on the water. She thought of her mother working night shifts, of years spent shrinking herself so others wouldn't notice her difference. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I just wanted to be left alone." A breeze carried Marcus's words from earlier. Patience, precision, and 3 backup plans. She took a deep breath, straightened her back, and went home to finish the final backup. At school the day before prom, Tyler strutted through the halls handing out mock invitations to a fake Imani transformation party. Students laughed uneasily now. The joke had gone on too long, and the look in Imani's eyes made them uncomfortable. She walked past them like smoke, silent, untouchable. That afternoon she met Marcus one last time in the basement room. He was finishing the script for the system override. "Once this runs," he warned, Every screen in the club will mirror your feed. There's no stopping it, she nodded. Good. He studied her for a moment. You know, you could walk away now. You already won, she smiled, small and tired. Winning isn't the same as healing. They shared a long silence broken only by the hum of the servers. Then she turned off the monitors one by one. Tomorrow night, everything changes. Prom night arrived with a golden sunset over the city. The country club glittered under string lights, a cathedral of privilege. Limos lined the driveway and cameras flashed as students in rented elegance stepped onto red carpet. Tyler Hamilton Jr., in his designer tuxedo, basked in attention, every move rehearsed for his followers. His story began. Tonight, the impossible dress challenge ends. Spoiler alert, Imani's not here. He laughed. His friends cheered. But upstairs, in a quiet control room lit by monitor glow, Imani Carter sat poised, a crimson dress hugging every curve she'd once been mocked for. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard as Marcus's voice came through her earpiece. All channels linked. Once you hit enter, the world sees what you see, she exhaled slowly. Then let's show them the truth. Her finger pressed the key. The monitors blinked, and across the ballroom the big screens glitched mid-slideshow. Tyler paused mid-sentence, glancing at the DJ booth. What's happening? Every screen turned black for half a second. Then a single live image appeared. Imani, standing tall in that red dress, looking directly into the camera. The room went silent, the kind of silence that swallows sound. Her voice came through the speakers, clear and steady. Good evening, Riverside. Tyler froze where he stood, every muscle in his body tightening as the crowd's whispers rippled through the ballroom. He forced a smirk, trying to play it off. Guess someone figured out how to crash a party. The laughter that followed was nervous, uncertain, but Imani's eyes on the screen didn't waver. They held the same calm fire that had been building for weeks, the same focus that turned humiliation into ammunition. She stepped closer to the camera, the lighting catching the scarlet sheen of her dress. You once said that if I fit into this dress, you'd go to prom with me. I kept my promise. Now it's your turn. The murmurs grew louder. Phones rose like a forest of lenses, recording everything. Tyler forced a laugh. Okay, you got your attention. Joke's over. He turned toward the DJ booth, motioning for someone to cut the feed. But the music didn't return. The screens didn't go dark. And when he looked back, the image had changed. Imani's face was gone, replaced by screenshots. Hundreds of them. Text messages, voice notes, email threads. Every cruel joke, every taunt, every dollar his father transferred to bury his mistakes. Someone gasped. Someone else shouted, "Oh my God!" Tyler's jaw went slack. "Turn it off!" He shouted, but Marcus had already locked the system. The ballroom doors sealed with an electronic click. Every projector, every speaker, every screen pulsed in sync with the feed Imani had prepared. In the control room, she sat in perfect stillness, watching chaos unfold in real time. She could see Tyler stumbling through the crowd, his confident grin shattered into panic. Her voice came again, cool and precise. You wanted the world to see me. Now the world sees you. The crowd erupted in whispers that sounded like waves crashing against marble. Parents stared at the evidence flooding the screens. Teachers scrambled for explanations. Downstairs, Tyler's phone buzzed uncontrollably. Messages from his PR team, his father, even the local news. But there was no escape. The system was airlocked, broadcasting live across every channel Marcus had mirrored. The ballroom was chaos wrapped in gold and glass. The air buzzed with shock and disbelief. Phones kept flashing, capturing every tremor of Tyler's downfall. Security had surrounded him, but even they looked unsure whose side they were on anymore. The screen still glowed with evidence, and one final video, his father's confession call, played on loop. Imani descended the marble staircase one slow step at a time, her heels echoing like a countdown. The red dress shimmered as if it were made of flame. Students moved aside as she passed. Even the ones who had laughed at her now couldn't meet her eyes. Tyler looked up and saw her. His voice cracked. You did this? She stopped in front of him. No, she said softly. You did this to yourself. His hand shook as he pointed at her. You think this makes you better than me? You ruined everything, my reputation, my family. Your family ruined itself, she cut in. You just made it easier for the world to see it. Gasps rippled through the crowd again. His father, the mayor, had arrived by then. Face pale, tie loose, phone pressed to his ear. The older man's expression turned stone when he saw the footage. He mouthed something to Tyler, something that looked a lot like run, but there was nowhere to run. Marcus had seen to that. Every exit was still sealed, the system still under Imani's control. For a moment, Imani almost pitied them. Almost. She raised her hand slightly, and Marcus, hidden behind a row of servers, understood. The feed began to fade from the walls. The last image that lingered wasn't of Tyler or his father, but of Imani's Scholarship Foundation website, blinking alive for the first time. The Red Code Initiative, for those who were silenced. Then the screens went black. The crowd exhaled as though waking from a trance. People began to murmur, shuffle, and slip out through the unsealed doors. Reporters were already outside. The night had changed everything. Imani turned to leave, but Tyler's voice stopped her. "You think anyone's gonna remember you tomorrow?" His tone was sharp again, desperate. "You'll be a meme by morning." People move on. She looked back at him, her eyes calm, unreadable. "Maybe, but every code leaves a trace." He laughed bitterly. "You're insane." "No," she said. "Just finished pretending to be less than I am." She walked away, the music returning in faint pulses behind her. Marcus caught up with her outside, breathless and grinning. "You did it. You really did it." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We did it. But I don't know if that's good or bad yet." He looked at her, confused. "What do you mean?" "Tyler's done. His dad's exposed. You won." Imani gazed out at the reporters swarming the parking lot, cameras flashing like lightning. "I won a war that shouldn't have existed." She drew a deep breath, then added quietly, "I just hope I didn't become what I hated." They slipped through the side exit before anyone could stop them. Outside, the night was heavy with summer heat, the scent of rain just beginning to rise. Imani tilted her face upward, feeling the first drops hit her skin. By morning, her name was everywhere. The red dress revolt trended worldwide. News anchors debated whether she was a hero, a vigilante, or a criminal. Hackers called her a symbol. Activists called her a movement. Politicians called her a threat. Imani didn't answer any of them. She deleted every social account she had ever made and disappeared into silence for 3 days. When she finally resurfaced, it was through the Foundation's official site. Her first post read, "Change isn't about revenge. It's about rewriting the system that made revenge feel necessary." The donations flooded in. Hundreds of messages followed from girls and boys who had been humiliated online, who had been silenced, dismissed, erased. They called her a mirror, a weapon, a wake-up call. But behind the triumph, a different ache lingered. Tyler had vanished from public view, but she kept seeing his face in her dreams, mocking one moment, broken the next. She remembered how terrified he looked when the screens turned on him. It didn't feel like power anymore. It felt like a wound. Late one night, Marcus came by her apartment. "You okay?" he asked gently. She hesitated. "I don't know." He handed her a flash drive. "This was in the system logs. You need to see it." She frowned and plugged it in. The screen filled with fragments of code she didn't recognize, then a video feed. Tyler, from a few hours after the prom. He was standing on a bridge, city lights behind him. His face was pale, his voice shaky. "I messed up," he said into the camera. "You were right, Imani. I thought this was all a game." "It wasn't. I don't expect forgiveness, but maybe now people will see what I did." He paused, then looked straight into the lens. "Don't let them turn you into me." The video ended. Imani stared at the blank screen for a long time, feeling her throat tighten. Marcus spoke quietly. He turned himself in the next day. "He's taking the plea deal. Community service, rehab, public apology." His dad resigned. Imani's eyes glistened. "And the others?" "Some of them reached out. They want to help with your foundation." She closed her laptop, pressing her palm against it like sealing away a memory. "Maybe that's what justice looks like," she said. "Not destroying the system, but rebuilding it from the ruins." Weeks passed. The Red Code Initiative grew faster than she imagined. Students began coding workshops, schools implemented anti-bullying programs, and new laws were being drafted under public pressure. But fame was a strange kind of shadow. It followed her everywhere. At a press conference one morning, a journalist asked, "Do you think exposing people online is the right way to create change?" Imani smiled faintly. "It's not the right way," she said. "It was just the only way left." The room went quiet. Cameras clicked. Later that night, she returned to the same bridge where Tyler had recorded his video. The wind was sharp, carrying the hum of traffic below. She stood there for a long time, staring at the reflection of city lights on the dark river. "I didn't destroy you," she whispered into the night. "I just showed you the mirror. The rest, that's up to us." Behind her, Marcus called out, "You ready?" "The car's waiting." She turned and smiled softly. "Yeah, just one more second." The city stretched before her, broken, beautiful, alive. She knew she couldn't undo what she'd done, and maybe she didn't want to. Because for the first time, the truth was out in the open, breathing. As she walked away from the bridge, the rain began again, soft, steady, cleansing. Somewhere in the distance, a billboard flickered to life with the words, "The Red Coat Initiative. Change begins with courage." Imani looked up, the faint glow of it reflecting in her eyes. Then she whispered under her breath, almost like a prayer, "Let's build something worth the noise." And as the city lights swallowed her figure, the night felt like it was finally, mercifully, beginning again. The ballroom was chaos wrapped in gold and glass. The air buzzed with shock and disbelief. Phones kept flashing, capturing every tremor of Tyler's downfall. Security had surrounded him, but even they looked unsure whose side they were on anymore. The screen still glowed with evidence, and one final video, his father's confession call, played on loop. Imani descended the marble staircase one slow step at a time, her heels echoing like a countdown. The red dress shimmered as if it were made of flame. Students moved aside as she passed. Even the ones who had laughed at her now couldn't meet her eyes. Tyler looked up and saw her. His voice cracked. "You did this?" She stopped in front of him. "No," she said softly. "You did this to yourself." His hand shook as he pointed at her. "You think this makes you better than me?" "You ruined everything, my reputation, my family." "Your family ruined itself," she cut in. "You just made it easier for the world to see it." Gasps rippled through the crowd again. His father, the mayor, had arrived by then, face pale, tie loose, phone pressed to his ear. The older man's expression turned stone when he saw the footage. He mouthed something to Tyler, something that looked a lot like "run," but there was nowhere to run. Marcus had seen to that. Every exit was still sealed, the system still under Imani's control. For a moment, Imani almost pitied them. Almost. She raised her hand slightly, and Marcus, hidden behind a row of servers, understood. The feed began to fade from the walls. The last image that lingered wasn't of Tyler or his father, but of Imani's Scholarship Foundation website, blinking alive for the first time. The Red Coat Initiative, for those who were silenced. Then the screens went black. The crowd exhaled as though waking from a trance. People began to murmur, shuffle, and slip out through the unsealed doors. Reporters were already outside. The night had changed everything. Imani turned to leave, but Tyler's voice stopped her. "You think anyone's gonna remember you tomorrow?" His tone was sharp again, desperate. "You'll be a meme by morning." "People move on." She looked back at him, her eyes calm, unreadable. "Maybe, but every code leaves a trace." He laughed bitterly. "You're insane." "No," she said. "Just finished pretending to be less than I am." She walked away, the music returning in faint pulses behind her. Marcus caught up with her outside, breathless and grinning. "You did it. You really did it." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We did it. But I don't know if that's good or bad yet." He looked at her, confused. "What do you mean?" "Tyler's done. His dad's exposed. You won." Imani gazed out at the reporters swarming the parking lot, cameras flashing like lightning. "I won a war that shouldn't have existed." She drew a deep breath, then added quietly, "I just hope I didn't become what I hated."